this time we were like, we've been working that way, cutting and got to get the 11 best songs for the label and they can push it and focus and focus tracks. And we kind of want to like shed some of that vibe and just have a little more enjoyment, say as much as we can artistically, put as much music as we could have time to record, basically. We would have kept recording, but we kind of just like, okay, we've spent a lot of money on studio time and we're like out of time. So we just, so we did 20 songs and, got it to 20, and it's really cool to see what 20 we picked.
Working man may never be left alone and live life free. Keep up with the bills to pay, you'll have to work another day. Finish that nut, feed the board, fix the hinges on the door. Punch out when the day's done and hit the bar to find some fun.
Travis Book, Andy Hall, 2/5 of the infamous Stringdusters. Thank you guys so much for coming by. This is like a really concentrated time for you guys at this moment. I think fair to say.
Yeah, it's dense.
It's dense. It's dense is a good word for it.
Yeah.
The new record is out. This is going to air very shortly. It just came out, 2020. Congratulations on the new record.
Hey, thank you.
And I want to talk about that. And I also kind of want to just talk a little bit about the 20-year history of the band, the ebbs and flows. I mean, there's not a lot of bands that are as active and in demand as you guys, that have that kind of, I want to say like bi-generational status, legacy. Like you were the new kids,
yeah,
and now like you've raised another generation of kids coming up.
There's a full generation of well-established pickers.
Yeah.
They're sort of in that space that we were at when we started. We've 20 years,
Yeah.
Things move in cycles, and there's a bunch of kids out there playing the music right now. It's very
That's
cool.
got to be both inspiring and is it daunting in a way? Like,
Well, it's funny you say that because it's something I think about a lot. When there's a point where you have the realization that the wheel is turned and you're now more of the elder statesman, and nobody tells you that it's happening. You just all of a sudden you realize, it dawns on you one day, there's like that you're 50 and there's all these young pickers ripping, and they're all like, I listened to you when I was like, my dad listened to you when I was like 8, and you're like, okay, wow, let me just absorb this for a minute. But it is very true, and it's a cool role to, once you get over the shock, it's a cool role to step into, having been around for a long time and influence people, hopefully. And I like it. It's a nice place to be.
It's the best part of a career, I think, because all the people that we looked up to, all the people whose wake we were following, our heroes are still alive and active, and so we get to also run into them and spend time with them. And then there's this whole generation of these kids it is inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely have like a little bit of a paranoia about them usurping us, but it's not. But that's only just like an innate sort of competitiveness.
It's more of a
that's
you
totally
problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's totally unnecessary.
Well, it's interesting.
That's
your problem.
Exactly.
When I don't know. For me, it's like I actually feel like I don't. I mean, I'm hungry to prove myself in a way, but not. I wouldn't say prove myself. Like, you don't feel like you have as much to prove. It's not as desperate as when you're like young and you're just like, I gotta get out and everyone has to know how cool I am and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's like now it's just like it's a little more content, and I think that happens just with age. Hopefully in life, if you're doing it right, that you're a little bit more like, okay. And it's not like you lose drive or passion. It's just like there's just a little bit less of that like desperate clamoring for
that chip on your shoulder is a little smaller.
Yeah, and it's for me anyway, it's more fun to just enjoy the music and be with my bros, and it's a little simpler in that way.
Yeah, when you said about you're still seeing your heroes, like my mind's like Sam Bush and that generation. Yeah. I speculate that one of the joys about being part of such a storied tradition as bluegrass is that you are part of a story and a lineage. I mean, and it's not so large that you're lost in it. I mean, you guys are like, you have a place in bluegrass history, and that's really cool. Like, I don't know if you ever think about that or, feel
It's hard
or
to
notice
believe it, to be honest,
Yeah.
but I think you're probably right.
Yeah, I had never thought of that, but you're absolutely right because the music, the bluegrass music it's built on it. It is a lineage.
It has a history, and
it is influenced so much by what comes before, and there is sort of a direct. You can sort of draw a line through bluegrass history, and I would like to think that we have some space in that, although it feels certainly premature to even really kind of contemplate that because it's still.
But the children tell you that it's true.
they let you know.
They do.
My dad listened to you when I was 8.
Yeah, exactly. I don't believe it myself, but I've heard from the children that
And they would know.
they know.
Well,
They have a perspective that's different than ours.
And one of the things I think is really interesting about the Stringdusters is that I feel like the new record, it sounds a bit more trad than it has before, than past
Totally.
records have, right?
I like that.
I think so.
Yeah, and I think that with that is a large and, to me, interesting question about how you guys have carved a place in the history that's kind of was like willfully like, we're not calling ourselves a bluegrass band. We don't want to be. We're not trying to convert bluegrass heads, like we're trying to find our new people, to kind of sort of coming back and embracing it. Is that a fair speculation or
Yeah.
perception?
Totally. I mean, it is like things sort of run in cycles, and you kind of get far enough out there on the wheel, you realize you've kind of come all the way around to the other side. We're more like ourselves now than we ever have been. But so it certainly feels now like there's the band is still searching for new things to play and new ways to approach the music and new sort of aesthetics to develop on these songs, and that's really what drives the whole thing is these individual songs,
Yeah, I think we've, for me, and I love that we've kind of gotten back to the original sort of kernel of awesomeness that we started with as far as like embracing that bluegrass element, it's, like you say, you start with this thing that's very much bluegrass and then you go exploring and then, you get to a point where you're like, man, that original thing had something really juicy and there's a lot more to explore there musically and artistically within a slightly more maybe, a traditional, we're not traditional bluegrass no matter what, we couldn't be, I don't think, but a little bit more grassy vibes, like what got the big spark going originally. I love that. And also, in the same token, like bluegrass has gotten as a genre to this new place with the new artists making it kind of even more popular and more cool. I feel like there was an arc of us maybe wanting to get away from bluegrass a little bit, genre wise. And now it's like, I think artistically and in the context of the world of the broader music scene, it's great to come back to it. It's having a resurgence for sure.
I mean, one of the things that attracted me to bluegrass as a youngster trying to find his way in the world was it was like this great combination of content rich in the sense of like the technical mastery required to do it at a high level without a lot of. Well, this is an early perception. I'm gonna backpedal from it in a second, but without a lot of the pretense that like accompanies jazz, or in my mind, younger. In time, as I participated in the world, I found that like, there's plenty of snobs in bluegrass. There's plenty of pretense for miles. In fact, it's just a different kind of thing.
Right.
It's a community type of music,
Yeah. And there's people that got opinions, as happens in all communities.
Yeah.
And when you said that, like, we're not a traditional bluegrass band, I don't want to like bang on this subject for too long, but it's just as interesting to me that when you say we're not a traditional bluegrass band, well, what is a traditional bluegrass band?
Yeah. Good.
I'm not even pushing back on it. I'm just inviting a definition.
The question is,
I know you get at it.
The question has been around forever.
Yeah.
And it never really gets properly answered. I mean, there are certain things you could say are definitely traditional bluegrass, but beyond the very niche scene of bluegrass, that answer will be very different.
Yeah.
We are traditional bluegrass to many people. To me, we're not, just because I'm so steeped in traditional bluegrass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's all a matter of perspective, and who cares, really,
No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun to allow ourselves to be as traditional as we want and as traditional as the song demands. And there maybe was an era where there was a little bit of resistance to that, just a desire to kind of continually sort of create something that had never been heard before.
Yeah.
While also
totally get it.
While also being like, well, but there's also, the aesthetic, the more we are ourselves, the more you sort of hear these. It's like you can be these things and do these things, create these sounds, and instead of it having like a searching quality, it has more of like a coming home to yourself sort of quality after 20 years of making the music. It's almost like a little bit of there's sort of like an ease and a comfort with just playing a 3/4 song, like a 3/4 country waltz, and not in the back of your mind being like, this has got to be something different than what it is. Like, it's like, well, no, that's how this song goes. And how fun is this?
Yeah.
Playing it like this, you know, like letting it be letting it sink into that sort of traditional country bluegrass feel. That part of the sort of seasoning of being in a band, the seasoning of just getting so much perspective of what really matters with music, and learning how to just be comfortable making your own sound and just with what you can do. All that stuff. That's kind of one of the other great things about being in a band for 20 years. There's just all kinds of great stuff kind of baked into it now, through the experience of making this music together and traveling around together and being a family for 20 years.
How did you record the new record? Did you get together and punch it out?
Like we usually record, which is, we'll have some pre-production sessions, which is like we'll like rent an Airbnb maybe a few days before tour somewhere, wherever tour, and get together and start showing each other songs we've been working on, just informally, kind of, or semi-formally. We're like, here's this song, and we'll all try and play the new song, and we'll just make super rough phone recordings of everything, and we'll do as much of that as we can. I think we had about 50 songs over a bunch of sessions like that, and then just started whittling away, and that was the point where we were like, we wanted to make a longer record.
Not to get too technical about it, but all right, so you're making the phone recordings at the Airbnb, say there's 50 or give or take, and then you like throw them into a shared folder on the cloud. Correct. And everybody kind of plugs in at their leisure.
Yeah,
okay,
totally.
Cool.
Yeah, you kind of circle back and start to sort of see what stuff is bubbling toward the top.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it's you. And then the next session, maybe, it's funny when you have that first pass of songs and you start kind of just playing them rough and just seeing a lot comes to light right there, like because some songs will just feel really natural within the band, and other songs maybe not as much. And it just, there's a very natural process, or maybe someone will be like, man, that chorus, or a few guys might be like, that chorus is sick. And then that much gives it this new, this higher level of priority, So there's a kind of a natural process. The further along you get, the trickier it gets,
As you hone it down, as you whittle them down.
Yeah. But, this was one of the cool things about this record. We were talking about this yesterday, was that for us and for the fans, we wanted to just do more music. Like, it was like, because chopping everyone's songs off is hard. It's not that fun.
Yeah, there's five of us writing and singing at this point. That's a lot. There's a lot. It's a lot of material. There's a lot that people want to say and people want to sing. And trying to start honing the razor for all the reasons. Even just it's like, man, that's a good song. How could we leave that off? And in the process of finding the balance too of the right kind of feels and the right kind of moods and how it all fits together as part of a story. It can be kind of hard making the edits.
I'd imagine, especially as like it's a pretty democratic band.
It is. Nobody's in charge.
It's a democratic band,
and so it's messy. As we know, sometimes
the Democratic Republic of Stringdusters.
And but that whole process, we've worked on through the years, our relationship and how to communicate things, but the fact that we. This time we were like, we've been working that way, cutting and got to get the 11 best songs for the label, and they can push it and focus and focus tracks and we kind of want to like shed some of that vibe and just have a little more enjoyment, say as much as we can artistically, put as much music as we could have time to record. Basically, we would have kept recording, but we kind of just like, okay, we've spent a lot of money on studio time and we're like out of time, so we just so we did 20 songs and got it to 20, and it's really cool to see what 20 we picked.
Is there one of the songs that stands out in your mind that was like barely made it, or I don't know, just anything that was kind of interesting that strikes you about that selection process?
Well, it's just surprising sometimes what makes it and what doesn't make it. There's good songs that don't make it for no really good reason.
Yeah.
It just like, that's just kind of the way it happened. There's some chance to it, like in a way, you know what I'm saying? Like you just forgot to revisit some song that was actually pretty cool or whatever it is, So it's all these factors there's deliberate action where we're like, we want this one, but then there's other just, it's chaos in a way. And you're just like,
truly,
how do you get all that, and you end up with this, and there's like, okay, we've got 4 bluegrass songs in B. We should probably choose 1 or 2 or something like that, where it's like, you're trying to have a variety of sounds. So some things fall into place naturally that way, where it's like, okay, we don't want to have like so many songs that all sound like this, or we don't want to have just one guy singing 10 songs, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's certain formula that comes to play too, that helps with the whole process. But we also didn't put a timeline on it originally. We were like, the label's always pressuring you to like, we need to know when's the release date, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, just give us a little time. Let's just work through some of this without the pressure of a timeline and see how that feels and goes.
There wasn't as much pressure to put out a new record in a way, because I'm guessing this is a question mark. It doesn't sound like it yet. Because you're touring anyway, and you have, I imagine, enough material for 2 sets right now.
We do.
And so there's like the only impetus to make another record is like a creative desire to.
Yeah, let's play some new songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that can take as long as it needs to take.
Yeah. It is convenient. It sort of coincided with us being 20 years into a band.
When did you realize that, and did that help like focus the effort?
Yeah.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, at some point someone was like, we should just make this a 20 song record, And it was like, well, that's a lot of songs. And then we're all like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
That's what the country people do, man.
Because it's basically going to be, Morgan Wallen's record is
40 songs now. Yeah, totally.
It's massive.
Well, it makes sense in a way, because now that you don't have to fit it all on a CD or 2 sides of vinyl, it's like, well, it's a digital file. Your record's as many songs as you want it to be.
Yeah, the album is really, obviously probably less important as a unit than it, ever has been. Although we do have, the vinyl, vinyl is awesome, and I listen to vinyl, and so the 20 songs also does fit on like two vinyls. So that
is that a possible future, or is it? There's a vinyl out?
Oh yeah, it's out.
It's in 3 different colorways. Apparently, you can get it in traditional black. You can get it in like a black and white kind of grayscale tie dye, and then there's also a glow in the dark green version.
Yeah, there's still something to sell
if you would like. If you would like to buy something.
How have you guys dealt with the need to self-promote? It's my segue from that last moment to this one.
Like promote the record, or promote
just
the band in general?
Just like, like what you just kind of groaned as you said that, but at the same time, it's sort of a needful aspect of part of the deal.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? You gotta let people know. It's not the most fun part of the. I don't know. It's like, it depends on the day. Some days I'm like, let's. If you can. I don't know. Selling stuff is not why we're in this, although we do want to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not our forte, but we have a team of people that helps us with that's their whole gig, is trying to market us and sell stuff. So, they help us,
Yeah.
We're pickers at heart, and that's what we like to do is,
apart from the pickers aspect of it, I imagine that if you got 5 guys and it's a democratic process, but within that, everybody's kind of like better at something in there. And I'd like to know a little bit more about that. Like, who's better at what in, if something comes to mind, is somebody more organized than somebody else?
Well, Travis here is,
I know he's kind of
he's our
organized guy.
Touring guy. Like, Travis has always really been big at I should probably let you discover it, but
No, I like hearing you talk about me.
well, Travis has always had a knack for, Travis likes efficiency. And so he loves anything that's efficient. And so he naturally inserted himself into the touring.
Well, time is everything.
Yeah.
Me. Time is the most important thing to me. So it's never, some agent comes in, or even this week coming to Nashville to promote the record. They're like, hey, can you go to Nashville for a week? And I was like, no, it doesn't add up. There's no way we can take a week. I mean, we're already going on tour for 2.5 weeks this month. The time we have has always been of the most interest. That's one of the most interesting things to me, is how you apply your energy. So I'm really into the touring side of things, just naturally. Some people are a little more predisposed to picking up an interview or shooting a liner off. We got one guy who looks into the business stuff and likes to talk to the business manager about that.
Who's that?
Pandolfi.
Okay,
Christopher Pandolfi.
He's our Dartmouth graduate, so he gets his head into the business. One thing I've learned, and we've all learned in this business, is you need someone from the band looking into the business stuff all the time. You can't just give it up to somebody, even if they're great. It's like you
need somebody in the band.
You need somebody in the band to be also looking at this stuff. It's a while, and you wish it wasn't the case. And you always think when I get big enough, I don't have to think about any of this stuff. But you talk about any artist, I guarantee you, either it's them or their main right-hand person is looking into this. You have to have or you'll get taken advantage of either on purpose or by accident.
Yeah.
And so
because nobody cares. There's no incentive from somebody on the outside, even if they're working for you.
Nobody is going to care as much as somebody in the band.
Yeah.
So, you need that. And, so it's important to have that. And, every few years we get a little lax, and then we're like, we got to get back in there and see
Chris
what is going on.
Chris, hit the books.
Yeah, hit the books.
in there.
He does. He gets in there and is like, cracks the whip and gets things tidied up, but and then I don't have children, so I'm a little more available for interviews, and I do a lot of the social media, and I'm a little bit more of a catch-all for things they need this in an hour, and I'm more likely to be able to do it.
He also is our human resource department.
Yeah,
so he handles all of the official hirings and firings.
That is only partially true.
Or disputes.
Have you had to fire anybody?
Yeah.
Sure.
Crew.
Yeah.
Occasionally you have to fire, and we had to ask a band member not to be in the band anymore.
Yeah.
That stuff happens.
But it's not what we have a great team, and we try to keep, we want to have good people that we like to be around. It's not that easy to find people who are just, I don't know, kind, maybe.
Sure. We're kind and competent. Maybe
competent.
Both of those things.
I mean, if you can get that, you are stoked. I mean, because we want to just have a good experience and have fun, and we want people to treat each other well,
there's something about, we were talking earlier about, the musical satisfaction in that it's like a push-pull between honoring the tradition, if it's bluegrass, versus finding out, striking out and discovering something new about what this music can be. But then there's also this thing, and I feel like it comes more to the fore the older you get, about this is my life now. And insofar as this is my life and a day-to-day experience, I want to have it be as positive as possible, and that means everybody I work with be somebody I want to work with.
Yeah,
because
totally,
that's a huge part of the joy. And if there's some guy who's I'm gonna make some huge deals happen, but he's a complete asshole to be around, it's I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know.
It's your life. It's your
life.
Everyday. You're out. It's how you're living every day. And I mean, it's and touring. It's all even more intensive because you don't go home at the end of the day.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. It's one thing to have a coworker that's an asshole, but then you go home and they're out of your life. This is you're together 24/7 at night when you sleep. If they're on the bus, it's even more intense. You can't get away in a way, So the relationships have to be for us. Not every band is different, but for us, we require, and it's fun. It makes it better. To have people there's a standard of behavior that we would like.
A basic standard of behavior.
Damn it.
Spoken like a true H&R
I mean,
man.
we really, it's like,
Right.
it's like something you wish like everybody in our society would just like exhibit just like a basic standard of behavior.
Yeah,
and courtesy and self-awareness.
The word I always come back to is decency. I'm trying to be just a decent. I'm not even trying to be a hero. I'm just trying to be a decent guy, and I want to be surrounded by decent people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room in that word.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to be decent. It's just got some fuzzy boundary at the top and some fuzzy boundary at the bottom. And
Yeah,
you're in there.
it seems like it wouldn't be that hard to find that giant space of decency, but for some reason, it seems like a difficult mark to hit.
Yeah, well,
And it's fine to have a moment. We all do, but to be able to come back and you have you
can poke out there once in a while.
Oh, you
just gotta
have no
come back
choice.
quick.
I mean, you're going to poke out of the space occasionally.
it's the habitual indecency you're looking out for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
gotta stay
the
away from that.
unrepentant undecency.
This was like one topic removed. It occurs to me, but when we were talking about business and that there's got to be somebody in the band that's good at business, there is a documentary that came out about the Black Keys, and it reminded me because we were talking about another music doc. I love music docs and just the story of bands, and that it was a great doc, and it's Patrick and Dan Auerbach, and watching that doc, I'm like, oh my God, Patrick is the band. Like he was the guy that just made sure that everything actually worked in the band.
Which one was he?
The drummer.
The drummer?
Big-
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
big-
So
big drummer.
the one you wouldn't necessarily think is much as the main guy.
And
but yeah.
Dan is just like, he's creative, genius, smart guy. But had he not met Patrick, there's been nothing that happened.
Right.
Because like somebody's got to answer the emails. Somebody's got to think about how are we going to get to the next place and what time is load in. These like really basic things. I just had an interview with this band, the Brook and the Bluff. This was just yesterday. They're like cracking right now. Great young kids. It's like they're a true band. 4 guys that moved up from Alabama. They're I wouldn't even say they're having a moment. They're like deep in their moment now. But the two main kind of creative guys behind it were talking about how like when they were young, they're so fired up about music, but they had no conception of like, how do we play the cool venue in town? Like, what do we even do? And it wasn't until the drummer came by and saw him play, and he was like, "Hey, do you guys need a drummer?" And he was like a good drummer, but more importantly, he had that like business sense to be like, "Hey guys, okay, like let's think about putting together these, package of songs, and like the thing that you have to do to make a creative enterprise financially feasible."
Yeah.
Which is a huge part of the deal.
Somebody has to do it.
Somebody's got to do it, or there's no band.
Or nothing. It's
There has to be like, there's just the interesting thing about being, in a band or a musician is that, there has to be so much like organization and so much impetus for things to happen because the hanging out in a room and playing music, that's not the easy part, but that's the obvious part. And that's like what gets everybody in the room. But then what's going to get you out of the rehearsal space and out on the road and getting your music in front of people? That it takes those two things. It takes like trajectory, like energy, impetus, and some understanding of like how to fit all the pieces together, how to organize it, how it even works. And there's a lot of musicians. It's just like anything in life. For sometimes these things are really obvious for some people, and sometimes they're just not for others. Just like using a turn signal or something. Some people just never think. They just have no idea how to use a turn signal. But for others of us, it's like the most logical thing in the world. And that I think a lot of great. It helps to have people who cover a lot of points of the spectrum when you're starting a band. And we had a lot of impetus in this band. There's a lot of people who were really inspired to get out and try new things and get out places. And then getting connected with good people early on was huge for us. A motivated manager and a really good booking agent made like all the difference for us. When I think back to what it would have been like if we hadn't had those two really great partners.
Who are you still with them?
Not our manager. We have a different manager now, Ivory Daniel with Regime, but we. And also Hillary Clinton with Regime. Got to mention her name because Her name's Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean,
And then Joshua
I'm
Knight.
just going to assume it's the same person.
Joshua Knight's been our booking agent for like 15 years, and he's the best.
Yeah.
I will say, an interesting tidbit on that, the whole like what, okay, we've made some music. What do we do? How do we get it out? In bluegrass, it's pretty cool because there's kind of a place you can go to do that. So there's like a whole system
Ecosystem
of bluegrass gigs that, like, if you're just a new bluegrass band, you can get plugged right into that will get you going. It's not like, if you're a rock band starting out, there is nothing like that. It is total Wild West. There's no path. But with bluegrass, there's this organization called the IBMA, International Bluegrass Music Association. There's this huge conference every year. And that helped us immeasurably when we started. You go and you play all these showcases, all these label people come.
Festival promoters, buyers for PACs,
fans.
Yeah.
And so you can go to this thing for a week and make a huge splash in your industry. And all these gigs pop up. There's bluegrass associations in every state, and they have sponsors, and they put together shows for bluegrass bands coming through. And there's this whole like support system for bluegrass that's pretty epic that you can get plugged into right off the bat. That it's not, for us, it wasn't, where we were going to stay, but it was an amazing like launching point that I feel grateful that for that whole system that's in place for bands, because the thought of just like not having that, and just like what you were saying with this other band, just how do we even get into the club? What club? What do we do? There's where it's just,
how do you get people to show up?
Yeah, that sounds daunting, and I respect bands that like bands that don't have that. But for us, the IBMA was a huge place for us to get our jumping off point. And our first album like won these awards. They have an awards show, and our first album won awards, and you start to get little accolades. So it was the first couple years. That was huge. That really helped us get rolling.
I mean, absolutely. I have my own version of that, which is like, my thing is full. I'm a singer-songwriter guy, right? And so when I came up to do it, and this is a little bit looser because people definitely do it a lot of different ways, but the way I did it was that I just saw the contests, like Merle Fest, and I just was like, I'm going to win that contest. And I did, it took me a while, but, I did. Cool. Here's a story about Planet Bluegrass, Telluride
Troubadour.
Telluride Troubadour. I got in one year, and first time I'd ever been to Telluride, 9,000 feet. It was a little daunting. I came from, Idaho. I'm used to altitude, but that was a different deal.
It's a different deal in that valley.
It's a different deal in that valley, yeah.
For sure. The atmosphere and the air and the sun, everything's trying to kill you when you're up there.
It really is. It's an extreme environment. It's so beautiful.
And I call it the Telluride effect. It will just wear you out. There's something like intense and magical about that valley.
Well, I was a finalist in that show. I was so excited because it's going to be like a moment. I'm trying to stand out. You want those little accolades because then those gigs are going to get better. That asshole on Music Row is going to return your email, whatever it is,
finally.
And I got up there as one of the 10 guys, and I had a song that was like pretty intensive, and honestly, I just embarrassed myself. I could not even play. I was just super nervous. I think Tim O'Brien was in the audience.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was like I hadn't slept because they give you like one tent and no extra whatever. It was an extreme.
God, it's so
whatever
rough.
It was, I did so bad. It like really fucked me up for a year.
No.
But the happy ending is that the next year I sent a different song in, and I got into Rocky Mountain Folks Fest in Lyons. Same company, same Planet Bluegrass people.
Yep.
So I'm a finalist. And that year they had a song school in advance. They always do this in advance of the festival. And so I entered the song schools mostly just so I could be on the grounds for a week and just acclimate, just get chill and get comfortable. And the night before the contest, I went on the stage after everybody wants to say, I pick a circle, whatever. It's like 2:00 in the morning. I go on the stage, and I stood in the middle of the stage, and I played through both of my songs at tempo,
dude.
And then because all I wanted to do was just represent myself well. I didn't want to. I didn't care about the winning part, but I just did not want to have that experience. And anyway, I won the contest that year, and so it was awesome. My larger thing to say is that just like it was so great to have those accolades, mostly because the gigs, it just made my career possible,
Yeah.
And in those kind of genres, that is really, it's not necessarily like the clearest path forward, it's clearer because you can like see a mile, so you can be like, okay, there's a little node in the journey that if I could capture that, then maybe something else will happen.
It's kind of an unfortunate thing that it's not just the art and the music that is what necessarily propels people forward. I mean, it's a big part of it, but it really, sometimes people need to just a easy way to know if somebody's something or not,
Yeah.
And if you can be like, oh, Grammy winner, it's like, there could be many bands that are much better than a Grammy winner, but it's like it or not, it's a easy way for someone to compartmentalize and just be like, oh, that must be good.
That's a big word for sure.
So it's like,
good,
or song, winner of the, the contest. It just is something that you can add that gives you a little sparkle that, when you're trying to stand out, like it or not.
Yeah, and context. I mean, I think that's such a hard thing to give people with me when you're trying to get people to understand your music without, even once they listen to it, like context, where to sort of place you in the greater musical world. I think is such a difficult thing, and that's what these things all help. It's sort of like even like the genreification of music, which a lot of people grumble about, who want to be in between things. Well, it's all coming to music with a clean slate it's like almost too much to handle.
It is too much to handle.
You need some framework to understand what it is you're listening to. That's why I think I have a theory about why cover songs work so well, because they give the audience a glimpse into sort of where you come from, what you're interested in, and also how, they're like, well, I know how Neil Young does Harvest Moon, and now I'm hearing you do it, and wow, that's a great version. Whereas if you're playing them your own songs, that's the only version of it that's ever existed. It's your own version of your own song, and placing that in the context is kind of hard. It's a funny thing.
It asks a lot more of an audience.
So these little things, like a little award here, or even has played these venues. These little things are like little clues that help you to understand something before you go out and buy it, or even before you spin it.
It seems like there's this tension between providing something familiar and also like carving out your own space that's all your own. I remember this interview with Meryl Streep when she talked about filmmaking, and she said people don't go to the cinema to see you on the screen, they go to see themselves. It's like, wow, that's a really great insight. And I think that really applies to music too. And when you're starting out, it's really hard. You're like, people, it's really hard to expect people to want to participate in your journey, like why?
Yeah.
When there's so many journeys that are like, there's so little time. Nobody has time to discover anything new. And so like that, the cover thing is such a great way. I mean, like that's a known Spotify strategy, it's just like put a bunch of covers out and let people see you do something they know. It's like, makes a lot of sense. I should do it someday. I don't know.
Well, it's true. It's how much do it depends on what you like artistically. Maybe you get lucky and what you like artistically is what works in the business. Like, I just want to do covers, whatever,
Totally. No, there's definitely that.
It's a balance. When you write original music, there is that push and pull of like, how much do you want to play that game a little bit? Thankfully it's like, we do some covers and I like it. I like playing songs that other people have written that people know too. It's fun. And the cool thing about doing it as a bluegrass band is it's always going to be somewhat unique, because you're taking usually some rock song or a lot of times we don't even call bluegrass songs that, like by say Bill Monroe, covers. Like we call them bluegrass songs. Covers are like from more popular genre. And that is so fun when you plug those into it's artistically rewarding to me, because you're plugging this song like into a bluegrass band, and it's going to be cool and unique in that way. So you can take, there's a way to do covers and things that is like artistically fun and making their own, as opposed to just trying to be as authentic to the original as possible, which is what a lot of people would do. In bluegrass, it's just automatically going to be weird. You can't. It's impossible. So it's kind of fun that way. But
well, and one other extension is that you're also fighting this. Like, this is, I think, might apply to you guys in a way, that the familiar becomes, even as for a successful band, your last record. or or the hit song that people discovered you on. And so that's like a story as old as time. The band, nobody wants to hear the band's new record. They want to hear the hits that they know. And so you're never not fighting against that familiar and trying to get audiences to go with you into the new thing. And it's quite a dance.
If you write songs that are like the new songs and they're the new album songs and you play them for people and they react right away, then you really know you've got something, That's cool. That's cool. And that's what I've been actually experiencing with these new songs on the 2020 record is like people are reacting the first time we play them. And the record is, up until now hasn't been out. And it's like, ooh, we did something cool.
Well, I think it's because it sounds just like the Stringdusters.
Yeah, it's very Stringdusters.
Like this record, it sounds like I'm making a joke, but like this record sounds more like us in some ways than anything we've done since we started.
Like
right?
Fork in the Road,
like even like anything we've ever done. And that's ideally kind of what a band would do in some ways. It's like you find a way to make something new but still sound as much like yourself as you ever have.
I mean, I think that's the game.
Yeah.
And if that's the game, then I think like we finally have really done it where it's a Stringdusters record.
Yeah,
the songs are Stringdusters songs.
That's an interesting point. If you've been around long enough and have a fan base of some kind, there's something that they perceive you as, like sonically. Like there's something there where that's Stringdustery.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that they're there for.
That's your identity as a band that the fans are there for. And if you can find what that is, like you say, I feel like we've kind of found that in a way, or come back to it in a really deep way, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's a great point. It's like it's very Stringdustery, whatever that is.
Well, speaking of which, if you guys brought your instruments, maybe we could hear one live and just see how dustery you are.
That sounds great. We're going to do one off our new record. It's called the All New Working Man Blues.
I love it.
1, 2, 3. Wakes up and lifts his head, drags himself out of the bed. He thinks about what is to come, if the day will bring him down. He'll brush his teeth, clean his face, put his hair all in his place, and then he'll head on out the door, make his way out to town. Working man may never be left alone or live life free. Keep up with the bills to pay, he'll have to work another day. Paint that touch, paint the floor, fix the hinges on the door. Day's done and hit the bar to find some fun. Now I don't know, but it's been said working hard will keep him fed. But what about the toll it takes? What kind of life he'd like to lead? The rent goes up, the price is sore, can't afford the bar no more. Haven't changed years before he gives some more he'll need. Working man may never be left alone or live life free. Keep up with the bills to pay, he'll have to work another day. Finish that nut, clean the floor, fix the hinges on the door. Punch out when the day's done and hit the bar to find some keep up with the bills to pay, he'll have to work another day. Flash that nut, clean the floor, fix the hinges on the door. Punch out when the day's done and hit the bar to find some
fun. God, that was sick. Yeah, my 14-month-old was here in the room, and I'm just so glad that she got to see that, because it is, there's nothing like a true band doing something at a high level, and then a band with that kind of history coming together. It's like you guys are one of one. Hope you know that, guys.
Thanks, bro.
I feel very awkward with praise in general, either receiving it or giving it, but I just also want to extend it in a genuine way, because it
I
was
won't
just
argue.
So awesome.
Thanks,
Picking
man.
is
Thanks,
the
man.
harms.
Well, that tune's pretty traditional. I think that would kind of fall into a traditional bluegrass.
I love seeing where that song has arrived at. The sound, it's bluegrass, and it's fun to play.
It really is.
Did it? Who wrote it?
Andy Falco.
Killer. And then has its arrangement changed significantly from when he introduced it to the band?
No, I mean this is pretty much the album arrangement is what we play. It's tidy, and it just. The song moves along quick, and the arrangement is nice and tight, and so we play it pretty much as we recorded it. We arranged it in our pre-production session, or maybe in the studio. I don't remember, but it's kind of stayed what it is since it really was birthed, I would say.
Well, don't change a thing. It sounds great. Just curious about. What's the plan for the rollout? So when this airs, the record will have just come out. You had a great show at the Opry. And then are you playing a whole bunch of dates for the coming months? Is your calendar set for the year? Or,
yeah, we're touring. We just did a tour in the Northeast, and we did a tour through the South in the fall. We're kind of trying to basically play everywhere this year. So we'll be in the mountains doing sort of the equivalent of a ski tour, playing Telluride. We'll be in Telluride in a few days after this airs.
At the Sheridan Opera House?
Yeah, we'll do some stuff there. We'll go to Salt Lake City and up through, Winter Wondergrass Festival. And then we have another run that starts up in the Northeast and goes all the way down to Florida. And then festival season really kicks in. We've got a little bit of downtime while some people do some other stuff in April and May, and some shows in there. And then festival scene kicks in, and we are playing basically everywhere we can until a big West Coast tour in September that ends up down in Arizona. And some stuff through the end of the year. We don't quite know our New Year's plans. And then we'll give ourselves the winter off, which is something that we've never done before. We're sort of...
winter being December...
Yeah, January, and then kind of reemerge sometime in the spring. But it's going to be interesting for us. We've maybe done spent 4 weeks apart without playing a show in 20 years. So we're going to, experiment with a little bit more time.
8 weeks.
Yeah, we're going to give ourselves 8. But we have 2 gigs in the middle.
Yeah. Oh, but and then another gig came up, so I don't know.
But yeah, man, we're literally playing as much as we possibly can right now.
Yeah.
And I think we're experiencing this phenomenon of just feeling like, it feels very much like the original energy of being on stage together and just getting out and playing shows and having just so much fun and feeling so inspired musically, and seeing a lot of people, a lot of new faces coming out to see the band. And that's always kind of the big question mark, is after you've been doing it for 20 years, how do you continue to get people to come out and fresh faces to experience it anew? And we're seeing a lot of that, and it's really exciting, taking the music to new places.
I'm excited for you, and I mean, it sounds like from the outside, like pretty great. And then my follow-up question is maybe for you, Travis, is that how have you learned to negotiate maintaining your life outside of the band with touring so heavily? I mean, that's got a lot of understanding with the people around you, I imagine. But I mean, I'll stop there and see what you say, and see if I like that answer.
Well...
Not good enough.
I do have an ex-wife, who I married soon after starting the band and was with for 10 years, and then we separated in part because, because the lifestyle is a challenge. Yeah. And she needed a partner that could be around all the time, among other things, of course, right? It's never that simple, but the balance, it can be a challenge, but. What's really great. Yeah, you have people around you who are understanding. You have kids that come up and this is all my kids know. And there were two options. I could either have kids and be a musician, well, 3, or I could just be a musician and not have kids, or just not have kids at all. And I'd like to think that they're better off having been brought into existence and having a father who is around some of the time, part of the time, having a unique relationship with their father and with the world than to have never existed at all, And so I try to give the people back home as much time as I can, but we're kind of on a mission from God out here. And it's like this is so important. We think that we play this music. It means so much to so many people. And there are sacrifices that have to be made,
I think that's a pretty great answer. The whole reason this podcast exists is because I've spent the last 8 years of my life writing this TV show, and we got it produced and made it. And it's had a great run, and we're going to sell it, and then building out the IP for this show by having this weekly podcast is kind of an interesting thing. It's taken on a life of its own. But at the heart of the show is about indie folk singing guy that has a calling. The way you put it I really resonate with that. It's like there's chasing your dreams is one way to put it, but I think a deeper way to put it is honoring a calling. Yeah. And there's a huge sacrifice for that, not just for everybody around you, but for yourself. And that is a question I feel like you have to like revisit throughout your life of like, am I honoring this calling? Is this like, am I being honest with it's a really heavy question. And that like the way that you sort of make that dance happen between honoring your calling and also like being a dad and enjoying the fruits of being a dad is different for everybody. And I think I think it's universal in its way. It's just more poignant with like touring musicians because you're like physically apart from, but it's a zero-sum game. Time you spend on your career is time you don't spend on your kids and vice versa, and so how everybody like negotiates that is unique unto them and also like a really universal question. So, I think they're better for existing also. And I only know I don't know her, but I only know a little bit about your daughter, and she sounds like a really stellar kid. So, you haven't fucked up too bad.
She's awesome. And she's got an awesome mom. And I mean, it's like kids, sometimes kids get too much time with their parents.
Sure.
And sometimes, I mean, I don't like being away for long periods of time, but certainly like during the day, like go outside, go for an adventure, go experience the world. Cause you know how it is. You go into nature. There's something that happens when you're out there alone in the world, whether you're in the woods or even walking through New York City. It's different when you're alone than it is when you're with another person, or whether it's your partner, or whether you're taking care of your child, or whether you're the child and your parent is sort of directing your behavior. There's something about, for me, the experience of just like pure autonomy in the world is such a high. And it's kind of like my favorite, being alone out there in the world. And, my kids do well to go out and just go ride their bike around town, go look for trouble. I tell them sometimes, like, go see, I dare my son. He likes to play video games, stays inside. I'm like, go, see if you can get picked up by the sheriff. Get out there, see what happens.
Get creative.
See what happens, because I'm so certain that that the worst that's worst that could happen is maybe like a little bit of property damage or something. But like, just get out there and try it. I think my kids and I can have an amazing relationship without me having to be there every single day. And they've got 2 houses, and they're really different, and they're learning a lot of really different things from both of those houses, and it's the same sort of with with my partner, and I'm sure Andy can attest to this too. It would be great to be with your partner every day, but there are some advantages to having a little bit of space and having things work in sort of a cyclical nature. I feel really blessed to be able to, blessed isn't the right word. I feel grateful to have the opportunity to sort of follow this calling. And it's largely out of my hands. Like I didn't necessarily like go looking for this, but it's sort of found me, this thing that I do.
As callings do.
Yeah. Like we found each other, and now we get to do this amazing thing. It's so cool. And how could you deny ourselves and the world that? Because it has so much meaning for us,
I think it's a pretty good moment to call it on. You guys, thank you so much for your time. I'm really excited about the new record. It sounds great. And I wish you all the best. Let's do it again.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
The Morse Code Podcast is produced by Korby Lenker and Jared Hammond in East Nashville, Tennessee. Our executive producer is Randa Newman. You can find full videos for this and all previous episodes at morsecodepodcast.com.